Introduction. Welcome to this session on graphical representation of data. Learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to identify chart elements, create dynamic charts by using a pivot chart, describe chart layouts and styles, explain the meaning and uses of a macro, describe the process of mapping a simple document. Examining chart elements. A chart is a graphic representation of spreadsheet data that uses columns, points, pie wedges, and other forms to represent a range of numbers. As the data in the spreadsheet changes, the chart also changes to reflect the new numbers. Let us discuss some of the common chart elements in this topic. Plot area. First is the plot area. The area formed by the category and value axis is called a plot area. It contains data points and grid lines. The category axis. The axis that contains category groupings is called a category axis. Usually, the x-axis would be the category axis. Next is the value axis. This axis contains data values and codes. Usually, the y-axis would be the value axis. Chart title. This is the chart title, and this is on the title of the chart. Grid lines. Grid lines are the horizontal and vertical extensions of the axis tick marks. These make data values easier to read. Data values. Data values, also known as data points, are the values of a single piece of data. Data series. A data series is a collection of related data values. Normally, the marker of each value in a series has the same pattern. Finally, legend. The legend is a guide that shows the colors, patterns, and symbols used for the markers for each data series. Understanding chart types. Excel offers 11 different types of charts, including column charts, bar charts, line charts, and pie charts. The chart type you use depends on the type of data you want to present and how you want to present it visually. Let us examine some of the common chart types in detail in this lesson. Area type chart. An area type chart is a chart that shows the relative contribution every time each data series makes the whole picture. Bar type chart. A bar type chart is a chart that compares distinct items or shows single items at distinct intervals. A bar chart is laid out with categories along the vertical axis and values along the horizontal axis. Bubble type chart. A bubble type chart is a chart with 3 data series, in which the third series has individual plot points displayed as bubbles. The larger the value, the larger the bubble. This is similar to an XY chart. Column type chart. A column type chart is a chart that, like a bar chart, compares distinct items or shows single items at distinct intervals. However, unlike the bar chart, a column chart is laid out with categories along the horizontal axis and values along the vertical axis. Donut type chart. A donut type chart is a chart that, like a pie chart, shows the proportions of a whole that are contributed by each value in a data series. Line type chart. A line type chart is a chart that shows how a data series changes over time. The category x-axis usually represents the progression of even increments, such as date or months, and the value y-axis has the series of plotted points. Pie-type chart. A pie-type chart shows the proportion of the whole that is contributed by each value in a single data series. The whole is represented as a circle, which is the pie, and each value is displayed as a proportional slice of the pie. Radar-type chart. A radar-type chart is a chart that makes compression within a data series and between data series relative to a center point. Each category is shown within a value axis extending from the center point. Stock-type chart. A stock-type chart is a chart that is designed to plot stock market prices, such as the daily high, low, and closing values of stocks. Surface-type chart. A surface-type chart is a chart that analyzes two sets of data and determines the optimum combination of the two. And finally, XY-type chart. XY is a chart type that shows the relationships between numeric values in two different data series. You can also plot a series of data pairs on the XY coordinates, and this type of chart is also called a scatter chart. Create a chart. Excel allows you to easily create charts from your Excel worksheet data with just a few mouse clicks. You can also make your chart easier to read and easier to understand by adding one or more titles to the chart. To create a chart, select the data you want to visualize in a chart. If your data includes headings, also include those headings in the selection. Click Insert tab from the ribbon, and then click the chart type from the chart group. Excel will display a gallery of configurations for the chart type. Click the chart configuration you want to use. Excel will insert the selected chart in your worksheet. To add chart titles, click the chart. Click the Layout tab, and then click the Chart Title drop-down list. Select Above Chart from the drop-down list. Excel will add the title area to the chart in which you can type the title. To add the titles of the horizontal and vertical axes, click the Axis Titles drop-down list. Click Primary Horizontal Title from the drop-down list and select Title Below Axis. Excel will add the title area in which you can type the title. To add the title of the primary vertical axis, select Axis Titles drop-down list. Then select Rotated Title from the list. Excel will add the title area in which you can again type the title. Format charts. Coloring the background. Adding background color is a good starting point to format a chart. Initially, the color is plain white, but it's easy enough to change the color if you want to add a personal touch. Just follow these steps. Select the plot area. To select the plot area, click the empty space between the grid lines. Plotting area will be marked in your chart. Right-click the plot area, and then choose the Format Plot Area option. This will open the Format Plot Area dialog box. In that, choose the Solid Fill option, and then click the Paint Can button to choose from a list of colors. Now, click Close button to apply the chosen color. Once you have finished making your changes, Excel will apply the results of your chart. Gradient fills. A gradient is a gradual blend of two colors. You may use a black and white gradient that gradually fades from black in the top left corner to white in the bottom right corner. To set a gradient, open up the Format Plot Area window. Click Fill tab and choose the Gradient Fill option. You can use two basic strategies to move your gradients, the colors and the shading patterns. You can use the pre-built set of color and shading options. You can choose these options by clicking the Preset Colors drop-down list, and then click one of the thumbnail previews that appears in the drop-down list. As you make your choice here, Excel updates your chart to show the result you will get if you apply the new fill. You can also customize the applied gradient by adjusting these options. Create a chart template. After formatting your chart, you can save it as a chart template that you can reuse. Using chart templates saves your time to recreate. It also helps you to change the chart type of an existing chart. If you no longer need your chart template, you can delete it from the chart template list. To save your chart in a chart template, select the chart that you want to save in the chart template folder. Select Design tab, then click Save as Template in the Type group. In the Save Chart Template box, enter the appropriate name for your template. Finally, click the Save button. To use your template for your data, you can use your template when you create a new chart. You can change the existing chart type with your own template. To apply your template to a new chart, select the data with which you want to draw a chart. Select the Insert tab, then click Insert Chart dialog box launcher in the Charts group. In the Insert Chart dialog box, select the Templates folder, and then click the template that you want to use in the right side under the My Templates section. Finally, click OK. To delete a chart template, in the Insert Chart dialog box, select the Manage Templates button, and then select the template that you want to delete. Finally, press the Delete key to remove the chart template. Finally, press Yes to confirm your action. Summarizing data by using Sparklines. Sparklines are tiny charts that fit inside a cell. They help us to view the data as visually summarized trends. Sparklines provide content for a single cell value, for example, an average displayed in the worksheet. Excel 2010 provides three types of Sparklines, namely line, column, and win-loss. A line Sparkline displays a data trend over time. A column Sparkline displays a summarized data by category, such as sales by month. A win-loss Sparkline displays a data series as positive, 0, or negative. To insert a Sparkline, click an empty cell in which you want to insert a Sparkline. Click the Insert tab and select the type of Sparkline that you want to create in the Sparklines group. This will open a Create Sparklines dialog box. In the Data Range box, type or select the range of cells in the table that contains the data on which you want to create the Sparklines. Finally, click OK to confirm your action. The selected Sparkline is displayed in the cell. To customize the Sparkline, select the Sparkline that you want to customize. Click on Design tab. Here you have various tools to customize the Sparkline. You can change the Sparkline type by using the Type option. You can change the colors by using the Sparkline color or marker color options. You can show or hide the markers from the Show option. You can also change the Sparkline style by using the Style option. You can copy the cell to other cells to insert the Sparklines. Creating dynamic charts using pivot charts. Dynamic charts are useful when you want to have charts which automatically update when you change the source data. You can easily create a dynamic sales chart, statistics report, or daily team report that automatically displays the updated data. Creating dynamic charts from the pivot table is a good concept to prove that you are an Excel pro. The main theme of the dynamic chart is to define the chart's source data as a dynamic range. By doing so, the chart will automatically update changes to the source data. Luckily, the process of creating a dynamic chart is easy to create in Excel 2010. A pivot chart is used to visualize the data in a complex worksheet. It also helps us to make knowledgeable decisions about critical data. It also gives us interactive filtering controls, so we can quickly analyze a subset of our data. Dynamic chart creation. With a pivot table, by using the Pivot Chart option from the Options tab, you can create a pivot chart. Then you can use the pivot chart as a dynamic chart. To create a dynamic pivot chart, select any cell in the pivot table and click Pivot Chart in the Tools group from the Options tab. Select the first chart option from the column section. Then click OK. The pivot chart will appear on the screen. Here, we have three options to create various chart combinations. They are employee name, date, and project name. To create a comparison chart for three employees named Sandra, Jack, and Anthony, click the Employee Name drop-down list from the pivot chart. Uncheck the Select All checkbox and select Sandra, Jack, and Anthony. Then click OK. This will create a comparison chart for the selected employees. To identify the sum of time spent for a specific project, select Project Name drop-down list. Uncheck the Select All checkbox and select any project name, for example, Java, and click OK. The chart will display the sum of time worked on the Java project by each employee. Changing the chart layout and style. You can quickly format your chart by applying a different chart layout and a different chart style. The chart layout includes elements such as the titles, data labels, legends, grid lines, and data tables. Excel's Quick Layout feature enables you to apply these elements in different combinations with just a few clicks. To change the chart layout and style, click the chart, click the Design tab, then click Quick Layout drop-down list. This will open a set of predefined layouts. Click the layout you want to use. Excel will apply this layout. Then click the Chart Styles drop-down list. This will open a set of chart styles. Click the chart style you want to use. Excel will apply this style to the chart. Introduction to macros. Macros can automate everything from a simple task to complex operations, making your life immensely easier. Excel gives you two different ways to create a macro. Write the macro by hand using pure VBA code. Record the macro using the Excel Macro Recorder. However, macro writing for Excel that has text files has a serious limitation that they cannot store macros. That means you need to either choose a different format for your workbook or store your macros elsewhere. Fortunately, Excel has two perfectly good file formats that support macros and all the same features as their macro-free counterparts. .xlms files are macro-enabled workbooks. They have the added ability to store macro code. .xlsb files are workbooks stored in binary format. They are excellent for certain types of files, like very large spreadsheets. In some situations, extremely complex files may load faster if they're stored in the .xlsv format. Recording and playing a macro. Now that you know the basics of Excel macros, it's time to try creating one. Choose the View tab and move your pointer to Macros group. In that, select Record Macros. A Record Macro dialog box will appear. Type a name in Macro Name field. If you want to create a keyboard shortcut, choose one now. Shortcut keys let you launch your macros in a hurry. Choose the storage location from the Store Macro In list. This option determines where Excel has saved the macro. In the description text box, type a description for the macro. Click OK to start recording the macro. At this point, macro recording begins. The macro recorder records all the actions you take. To stop the recording, choose the View tab and move your pointer to Macros. In that, click on Stop Recording and save the macro. Excel stops recording and quietly stores your macro. Excel doesn't show any confirmation message. Playing a macro. Once you have selected the macro, it's even easier to play it back. Just follow these steps. Move to the location where you want to play the macro. Choose the View tab, move the pointer to Macros group, and click on View Macros. The macro dialog box will appear with a list of all the macros in the personal workbook. Select the macro from the list and click Run. Excel will close the macro dialog box and run the macro. Understanding different types of references in macros. Relative and absolute recording in macros. When you click a command in the ribbon, Excel's macro recorder knows exactly what you're doing. However, sometimes Excel needs a little guidance from you in order to decide. When you type in text, Excel could interpret your action in two different ways, depending on which of two recording modes you want: absolute reference mode and relative reference mode. Absolute reference mode. In the absolute reference mode, Excel stores the absolute reference for the cells that you're modifying. When you play the macro again, the macro affects only these cells. Relative reference mode. In the relative reference mode, Excel tracks how far you move from your starting position. When you play the macro again, Excel takes your current location into account. Assigning macros to toolbars or menu items. If you have a task that you want to do frequently, Excel allows you to keep a macro as a button on the Quick Access toolbar. Once a macro is recorded in one worksheet, it will be automatically available for every workbook that you use. To add a macro button to the Quick Access toolbar, click the File tab from the ribbon. In that, select Options. Click Quick Access Toolbar. In the Choose Commands From drop-down list, select Macros. In that, select the macro that you want to assign as a button on the Quick Access toolbar. Click the Add button to move the macro to the buttons list. Finally, click OK to confirm your action. Now the newly created button will appear on the Quick Access toolbar. Using a macro for formatting. Excel macros allow you to easily automate tasks and standardize document formats to save time on repeated work. Settings to enable macros. Enable all macros in Trust Center settings. File, Options, Trust Center settings. Enable all macros. Not recommended. Potentially dangerous code can run. Formatting a table using macro function. Select the range for which you want to record the macro. Click the View tab and click the Macros drop-down list located at the right side of the ribbon. Select Record Macros to open the Record Macro dialog box. In the macro name text box, type any name you want. For example, formatting. Click on the OK button to start recording the macro. Now the macro recorder records the task you perform in the worksheet. To stop the recording, in the Macros drop-down list, click on the Stop Recording option. Excel will store your macro with the name Formatting. Now select the range in which you want to run the macro. In the Macros drop-down list, click the View Macros option. The macro dialog box will appear on the screen. Select the macro Formatting from the macro name list and click the Run button. The macro dialog box will disappear and Excel will run the macro for the selected range. Repeat the process for all the 4 tables. Excel quickly completes the process and the table will be formatted the way you have recorded it. Editing using Visual Basic for Applications, VBA. Excel VBA Editor allows you to write codes to perform automated tasks in a worksheet. It enables you to use Visual Basic functions within worksheets to generate powerful macros. Editing macros using VBA Editor. To open VBA Editor, click the right mouse button anywhere on the ribbon and select the Customize the Ribbon option. Excel Options dialog box will appear on the screen. In the Main tabs list, select the Developer checkbox and then click on the OK button. Now you can see that the Developer tab has been newly added beside the View tab. Now we are going to insert a command button inside the worksheet. Select the Developer tab and click the Insert drop-down list. Click the command button icon from the ActiveX Controls group. Drag it to the worksheet. Now let us assign a macro to the command button. Place the mouse pointer on the command button 1 and then right-click. Select View Code from the menu. This will open the Microsoft Visual Basic Editor. To insert the text Welcome in cell A1, type the code range A1.value equals Welcome at the place where the cursor blinks. Close the Microsoft Visual Basic Editor. Ensure that the design mode has been deselected. Now click the command button 1 in the worksheet. Now the text Welcome will be displayed in cell A1. Mapping a simple XML document. The simplest way to map an XML document is to link each element in the XML document to a corresponding cell in a worksheet. Then, when you import the document, the data flows out of the elements and into the linked cells. To try this out, you can use the simple student.xml document shown here. This stores the text and assignment scores for a single student. Before mapping an XML document to an Excel workbook, you need to prepare the workbook. To do that, create a new blank Excel document, then choose the File tab. In that, select Open. Browse to the student.xml file and then open it. Excel shows an Open XML dialog box with 3 options. Select the Use the XML Source Task pane and then click OK. Excel warns you that you're mapping a document without a schema. Click OK to continue. To map this student's XML elements to your spreadsheet in the XML Source pane, select the element you want to link. Drag the element from the XML source file to the appropriate place on your spreadsheet. Excel outlines the cell in blue to indicate that it is linked. Repeat the process until you have mapped all the elements. Once you have finished mapping the document and adding your headings, it is time to import the XML. Choose the Data tab and move your pointer to Connections and click on Refresh. Finally, your worksheet with the XML data will be imported. Summary. Let us now summarize the key points of the session. A chart is a graphic representation of spreadsheet data. It uses columns, points, pie wedges, and other forms to represent numbers from a range. Excel offers 11 different types of charts, including column charts, bar charts, line charts, and pie charts. After formatting your chart, you can save it as a chart template that you can reuse. Sparklines are tiny charts that fit within a cell. They help to view the data as visually summarized trends. Creating dynamic charts from the pivot table is a good way to prove that you are an Excel pro. You can quickly format your chart by applying a different chart layout and a different chart style. Macros can automate everything from a simple task to complex operations, making your life immensely easier. Excel VBA Editor allows you to write codes to perform automated tasks in a worksheet. The simplest way to map an XML document is to link each element in the XML document to a corresponding cell in a worksheet.